What's up everyone, Destin Legary here. Recently Microsoft revealed the Xbox One. We saw the box, we saw the controller, and we saw a lot of fancy media apps and stuff. We're going to see a lot more at E3 starting the week of June 10th, so let's get in the E3 mood, whatever that is. With me now getting in the mood is Mitchell Dyer, Ryan McCaffrey, Scott Lowe. This is E3 2013 Game Watch.
E3 2013 Game Watch. Microsoft.
Alright gamer people, let's start with a softball question here. What is everyone most excited to see from Microsoft? Mitch?
Obviously video games.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Specifically, I'm really excited to see Quantum Break, the Remedy game. I think that announcement at the Xbox One event did wonders, right? Like that's exactly what you want out of a reveal. You want, okay, it's Remedy. You know them from Alan Wake, you love them, they did Max Payne, great, I got it, I love it. It's weird and trippy and kind of Twin Peaksy like Alan Wake, awesome, I'm on board. Smashing boats, crazy visuals.
And it seems like it's got an Xbox TV live action show
right, and
that works in with it somehow.
That's the connection that I think was one
it's
of the best.
Goosebumps book.
It's
right?
Maybe. That was the thing that I thought they did best, because the conference, even though it didn't have games, was appealing to a wider audience. And I think by saying there's some connection between like a live-action TV show and this game is going to get people excited. Like it's an episodic game, possibly tied to an episodic series. That's really appealing. That's really awesome. And if it's trippy and wacky like Twin Peaks, then all of us are going to be on board.
Defiance called and they're crying right now.
Oh, man.
Ryan, what's your pick?
Well, I would love to pick an Xbox One game, but since we won't know any of them until E3, Microsoft's holding all their cards, I'm going to go with a game that I really fell in love with finally seeing it at last year's E3 that I'm still psyched for, South Park: The Stick of Truth. I've always wanted a good South Park game, and they pretty much don't exist until this one. This is a game, it's a role-playing game being made by Obsidian, guys who have games like KOTOR 2 under their belts.
Fallout New Vegas.
Yeah, absolutely. Fallout New Vegas more recently. And, you know, it's being written with Matt and Trey, the creators of the show. It's being voiced by Matt and Trey. I saw it in motion at E3 last year, and it literally looks exactly like you're playing an episode of the show. And it was funny. It had every character that they've ever had in the show on it in a funny, like, not forced way. So if it's, you know, even if it's only like 6 hours long or whatever it ends up being, if it's like a 6-hour version of super funny South Park, it's going to make me really happy.
Now that was being developed for 360, do you think we'll see it on Xbox One? I think they could get away with it because of the style.
Yeah, the style, they could easily just be like file save as for Xbox One.
File save as Xbox One.
Yeah, get in the habit, Destin. But it could happen. I mean, it's due out. Actually, they haven't announced a release date. I guess we'll get a release date in October. I mean, the fact that it still hasn't come out yet means it can't be too far
Almost
away.
certainly as far as September, October, somewhere prior to the next gen announcement.
Exactly.
We probably expect to be November.
So I actually don't really care what platform I play it on, just because there won't be a next gen advantage for that game. So I'm happy to
720p to 1080p.
Yeah, I'm happy to play it on 360. If they want to do an Xbox One version, great, I'll take that too.
Scott, how about you?
I know I'm going to get a lot of glares for this, but I'm actually legitimately excited for Call of Duty Ghosts. Are we high-fiving?
Leave him hanging.
I wasn't sure if you were going
hanging.
to slap me or not.
No, I'm with you. I love Call of Duty.
No, I think, you know, this is a really exciting time because, you know, it's been running on that same engine for quite a long time. And
Quake 3 technology under the hood, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
This is a fact.
Yeah, so I mean, Call of Duty Ghosts, I think, is really gonna, you know, propel the series into this new next generation of consoles. Although, you know, it's certainly gonna be beholden to, you know, making it compatible and playable and enjoyable on current gen. But I think, you know, we're gonna see a lot of, you know, interesting new dynamics. You know, with the not the dog, more than the dog.
Dog dynamics.
Dog dynamics. But also, like, you know, some of the new vaulting technologies that they're talking about, or the character models and whatnot. So, I don't know, I think it's going to be an exciting time. And then, of course, this is, again, like, Infinity Ward's big, you know, kind of breakout since the whole, like, solution of the studio.
Yeah. Can it change enough? Because I need a breath of fresh air with Call of Duty. The formula's gotten a little worn for me. So I'm really hoping that this next-gen new sub-franchise, you know, it's not Modern Warfare, it's not Black Ops, it's Ghosts. I'm hoping it's something a little new.
I mean, it's certainly going to be a new story, you know, obviously, and it's breaking from those universes, which is great. But I think, you know, really what we're going to see a real true break from the formula of the previous or current gen rather is going to be kind of later down the line. Ghosts will be a great first start, I think.
I think the dog's going to be the make or break for that game. Yeah.
Can I be the dog?
I mean, we joke a lot about the dog, but I would love to see if they integrate that into multiplayer somehow. Like if you have some kind of like small
It's already
squad
integrated into multiplayer.
in a more direct
swarms
fashion,
of dogs.
in a more like personalized fashion, right? Like if you have a team, like a guy with a dog versus a bunch of other dudes, maybe something to that effect.
Yeah.
But we joked. I mean, we talk about how it's got all these features like sliding and vaulting, and yes, those are old
like
game
Brink
features.
from 3 years
Exactly.
ago.
I mean, we those are features that were in like Far Cry 2 in 2008, and a bunch of other stuff that. Shooters that have existed for a very long time. They're not new features. But in the context of Call of Duty, the fastest first-person shooter around, being able to enable players to be faster and more mobile, that could drastically alter the gameplay in ways that people don't really think about.
And I understand the series gets a lot of criticism, but part of why it's so popular is it is consistent. Like that it maintains that core mechanic and that like kind of industry-leading first-person shooter gameplay. Like, honestly, like, people get down on it because it is very much the same thing, but that's kind of why people like it.
And you know what else is, there's room for optimism with this game in particular, because this is the new Infinity Ward's first real crack at it, because Modern Warfare 3, if you look at the credits for Modern Warfare 3, it's like 17 studios, because the whole Infinity Ward scandal disruption happened in the middle of development on that, and so Sledgehammer came in to help finish Modern Warfare 3, and Raven came in. So this has been Infinity Ward, the new Infinity Ward from the get-go.
With help from Raven as well.
Help from Raven and Neversoft.
But yeah, like on the multiplayer side and whatnot. But I'm very curious to see what now that some of those veteran Infinity Ward folks have moved on. It gives the maybe the younger people at Infinity Ward a chance to rise up and show what they can do. Yeah.
Okay, those are great picks from everybody, but we all know that the PS4 is the direct competitor to the Xbox One. Wii U is off doing its own thing, and that's fine, but what does Microsoft need to beat Sony and have everyone buy an Xbox One instead of a PS4? Ryan, we'll hear from you first.
It's the obvious answer. It's games. They said at the conference, the reveal conference, 15 exclusive games, first-party games in the first year, 8 of which being brand new IPs, the other 7 being from established franchises. We only know a couple of them so far, and that's Rise and Forza Motorsport being from one of each category, and Quantum Break. So 3 of those 15 total. And it's if they bring the games in a way that they haven't from a first-party perspective in a number of years, because the last few years they've really been relying very, very heavily in 360 on those pillar franchises. Halo, Gears, Fable, and Forza have really been the franchises they just keep going back to the well on over and over every year. So if we get new, exclusive, awesome games, it's all good.
Being a tech guy, I'm really interested to hear what you have to say, Scott.
Just based on what we see so far, like Sony clearly has an advantage on the raw power standpoint. But Microsoft is going much more mass market with this thing. They're trying to make entertainment the other big factor. I think,
is that smart that they're focusing so much on it?
Yeah, I actually think it's a brilliant business strategy. I don't know if it's a brilliant honoring the gamer audience strategy, because regardless of whether gamers really take to the system, by taking this entertainment initiative, they're going to sell a ton of units to people who don't necessarily play a lot of games. Like they're going to maybe kind of the casual gamers who play every now and again, but mainly just want to use it for an entertainment box. I think that is a real competitive edge, but I do think there is a real danger of Sony taking the other route where they really undercut Microsoft in terms of the gaming element, pushing the raw power and, more importantly, the DRM-free potentially prospects of the platform. It's like you can have all of these games, and they're really powerful, but you can also not have to pay a ton for them.
How is the Xbox One not just a DVR with DRM games on it?
That's a lot of acronyms. Can we back that up a second?
A DVR with games that have an immense amount of security on them that you can't share with your friends,
I mean, it's interesting because this. If you look at the overall industry, this isn't a really drastic idea. I mean, PC players have been dealing with it for years with Steam. iOS and mobile gamers have it's just a fact of life. There is no hard copy. It's just digital, and it's tied to your account. There is no resale. I think this is less of a shocking kind of unacceptable demand as more of just a kind of bringing console gaming up to the state of where things are. It's just a fact of life.
And you think this strategy they have is how they'll beat the PlayStation 4?
I think that, like I said, the entertainment aspects will be critical to selling more units, at least in theory. And I think, the gaming stuff, depending on what we see at E3, could be really critical.
Okay, I don't mean to beat him up all day.
Tell me more. Why will it win?
I need to know. Mitch, what about you? What do they need to do?
So my gut reaction is just simply to have a better price, because the Xbox One comes with a Kinect. That can't possibly do the price point any favors. So if it can come underneath the PlayStation 4's price, then that's going to be a huge thing. That said, Scott mentioned all of the stuff about DRM. Microsoft has to come out of the gate with damage control. They need to come out and clear up a lot of questions that people have about DRM, about, they just answered the question, can this thing stand up? That's not a thing that people knew. Can this controller stand vertical like the 360? No, people didn't know that. How crazy is that? There are so many unknown factors right now that Microsoft has to come out and just say, all right, this is what this thing is. Rather than showing us the box like they did at the Xbox One event and then showing us a bunch of games at E3, they need to tell us, not only, hey, this is why you're going to care, but this is why you're going to want to pay us money for it. This is why it's better than the other console. They need to clarify what those features are and how they do better than PlayStation 4, which they absolutely have not done yet.
Well, they could just give everybody in the audience one, and then everybody would be happy.
Sold.
Yeah. We've sold 600 units.
Yeah. All right. Finally, let me ask you this. Is there anything else you're excited to see from Microsoft and the Xbox One? Anything else?
Yeah, I'm really excited to see what the future holds on console for free-to-play, for MMOs, all that stuff. And then to see what the first-party developers are doing. We don't know what Black Tusk is up to. We don't know what Lionhead is up to. All these studios with big AAA games are just kind of waiting. We're waiting to see what they have. So just to kind of reiterate the points we talked about before, yes, I'm really excited to see what games are coming.
I know that this will be an unpopular answer, but I wanted to see if this new Kinect is the real deal, because rightfully so, Microsoft has dug themselves a hole with Kinect where the knee-jerk reaction is just this Kinect. But this new one with a 1080p camera, shorter play distances, and almost no latency, if it's as good as the original Kinect should have been, it could add a lot, not necessarily to games. Maybe it'll still end up being dumb for games, but for everything else, for your dashboard, for media, for services, for all these other things, it could end up being a really, really neat piece of technology that really enhances your Xbox and living room experience.
What about you, Scott?
Yeah, I certainly am excited about Kinect, but for me, I think what I'm most excited about is to see where they take second screen experiences and the cross-platform integration with Windows.
You're the one guy, the only one.
Yeah, unlike Sony has Android-based smartphones and tablets and whatnot, but they don't have the software. They're not. The PlayStation 4 isn't based on Android, whereas the Xbox One shares a similar DNA with Windows phones and Windows 8. So it really opens some cool doors in terms of what you can do cross-platform, like being able to pick up a game on one platform and continue it, at least in some capacity, on another. I think that is potentially a long-term strategy for them. I don't know if we'll see it at E3, but I certainly hope so. There were a few subtle hints dropped in, during the presentation, during the Forza demo. They were talking about how it'll extend to other screens and there'll be more cross-platform play. I'm really curious to see where that goes, and I think it could potentially, just like the entertainment platform, be a real system seller, being able to just pick it up anywhere, continue it anytime.
None of you guys mentioned this, and it's the one thing that had me really excited after the conference, that controller. How they're going to be able to control how hard you have to press down on the trigger. Game designers are going to be able to go crazy with that.
The other big thing in the controller is the rumble. There's additional rumble packs. I don't know what's the fancy
rumble
technique?
motors.
Rumble motors in the triggers that give you different kinds of feedback depending on what the context of the game is. Yeah. And there's lots of opportunity there to do really great things that, immersion brings you deeper into the experience or whatever.
There's that famous scene in the Walking Dead game where you have to cut off your own arm. Imagine that, but you have to really press on the trigger and you're getting rumble feedback and it'll immerse you just that little bit.
You went to the darkest possible place.
Or how about this? If I say Mirror's Edge 2 enough, it might will it into existence. Think, it
was on Amazon.
You're taking, you're running with faith. You're taking steps. You sort of feel and you're grabbing onto stuff and different pressures. sensitivities and feedbacks from each trigger can be really cool.
You know, it extends even beyond, and I mentioned this in our hands-on, like, you know, it extends beyond simply just kind of the immersive quality. It can actually serve a function. Like, with 4 motors, 2 in the triggers and, you know, 2 in the handles, you can actually even use that for, like, directional kind of awareness. So you can know where fire is coming from if you're in a shooter, for instance. Like
Call of Duty.
Yeah, like Call of Duty.
Instead of the reticle telling you where a grenade landed or whatever, you could get a slight vibration.
Feel a buzz,
in the
yeah,
controller.
in your lower, you know, kind of right in your palm or right, you know, at the tip of your fingers. I think, you know, it sounds super gimmicky, and when I first heard it, I was like, oh god. But when I actually played with it and did some tech demos, I was like, there's a lot people can do with this.
Feels good, man.
And the controller, like I said this again in the hands-on, like I thought the 360 controller was near perfect, and I was really worried what they were going to do with this new one. I was actually kind of hoping they would just leave it alone.
Yeah.
But they did make improvements, and they didn't, like, you know, really mess with the formula too much, but at the same time introducing new mechanics that I think people were going to be excited about.
Thanks a lot, everyone. And for our audience out there, head to the link below to see the most up-to-date list of games that are confirmed for E3. E3 happens the week of June 10th, but we have one more Game Watch coming up that covers companies like Ubisoft and Activision. I'm Destin Legary, and thanks for watching.